Is that too much of a hot take? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Tay, and today I'm going to be going over my January-February reading recap. I didn't read a lot in February, but I made up for it a little bit in January. Slow start to the year, we're getting back into the swing of things. Things have been a bit crazy, but I did read some books. Were they good books? Some of them weren't. Some of them incredible. I listened to a few audiobooks too, which honestly take up so much time because I listen to them in normal speed. I don't speed them up. I did the most reading in January. I got through almost an entire series and then another book that was the first book of a series. In February, I only read one physical book and listened to 2 audiobooks. So not a lot of reading, but I'm hoping things pick up again in March. We're gonna start off with my reads for January. The first one that I'm gonna talk about is the fantasy book that I read. It is A Forbidden Alchemy by Stacey McEwan. I really enjoyed this book. It's the first book of a series. It was written super well. I found it a bit predictable, but I don't think that's a bad thing. I think predictability can mean strong writing in a book. There was one little plot twist that didn't fully surprise me, but I like the way it was handled and like executed. So I'm a big fan. Stacey was inspired by Peaky Blinders. So the main character, the male main character, is based off of Thomas Shelby. I have only watched a little bit of Peaky Blinders, so I couldn't tell you how similar it was, but it was a very interesting concept. It's set in a fantasy world that is a little bit more into 1800s-y sort of era, in my opinion. Like they have trains? Did they have a train? Or was it like a trolley? I don't know. It's been a long time since I've read it, and I should remember these plot points. Anyway, they have a lot of cool stuff in here. I like the magic system. I feel like it was quite unique, something that we haven't really seen a lot of in the fantasy genre. It is categorized as a romantasy, and I kind of have a problem with that genre because while it is a fantasy with a romance subplot, the romance is very much subplotting. Like I can definitely see where the romance becomes important, but I wouldn't say it's a very spicy book, which was nice. I kind of like having books that don't have a lot of spice in them sometimes because it can just get too much, it can take away from the plot. I think some authors use it to hide shitty writing. Is that too much of a hot take? Basically, we've got Nina, who becomes a part of this elite world of magic wielders, and Patrick, who takes what he learns about this fantasy elite population, takes it back home and starts a revolution. So it's a little bit of a revolutionary tale. It ends on a bit of a cliffhanger. It's got me excited for the next one. Usually with a fantasy series, you know, the first one I'm always like dip my toes in, get to know the characters. Second one is when I like fall in love with the characters. So I'm excited to see where I go and see how I feel. Nina is annoying, but I'm excited for her character development. I think she's annoying on purpose so we can show how she develops. She's kind of the worst. She is the worst. I do recommend it. I think my initial star rating was 4 out of 5 stars. If I could drop it down and be quite harsh with it, it would be like 3.8 out of 5 stars. But for ease, I'm gonna say 4 out of 5 stars. So I do recommend, highly recommend if you want to get into a pretty easy fantasy read. The next books I read in January were the Playing for Keeps series by Becka Mack, which is a hockey romance series. Each book follows a different couple, but they're all within the same friend group, same team. You know, they all know each other. I finished the first 4 and I DNF'd the 5th one. The first book is Consider Me. It follows Carter Beckett and Olivia Parker. Carter Beckett is the NHL playboy, bad boy, you know, the type. Olivia is a high school PE teacher. It's fine. It is what it is. Silly, goofy. There's not much hockey in it, honestly. And what hockey is in it doesn't feel super realistic. I feel like I've read more realistic hockey romance books. And that's saying something because they're not super realistic. They're the Vancouver Vipers. Honestly, actually, the most unrealistic part of this series is that they play for a Vancouver team and do well. So sorry about it. If you love Vancouver and you want to see them winning, read the series. The next book is Play With Me, which follows Garrett Anderson and Jenny Beckett. Jenny Beckett is Carter's little sister. Garrett Anderson is one of the friends on the team. He starts off as like a shy boy, quiet, you know. He's like super shy in the first book, and then all of a sudden he does like a 180 and is no longer shy anymore and is a completely different character. And I know it's supposed to be like Jenny brings him out of his shell and whatnot, but it just, the execution, not there. Kind of funny. I did laugh a few times, but that's basically what I got out of these books. They're silly goofy. It's sort of, the main focus of this book is showing the struggles of being the little sibling to a like crazy talented NHL star and how people use her to sort of get to him type of thing. So did I like this more than the first one? I would say potentially. The third book is Unravel Me, which follows the goalie Adam Lockwood and Rosie Wells. Rosie Wells works at an animal shelter. She is studying to be a vet at college, and this book should have been so good. It should have been so good. This is when the series sort of starts to focus on children a lot. So Rosie's a single mom. I don't know, I guess I'm not in that stage of my life where I want kids and want to read about kids, and if I do and it's written really well, I still enjoy it. Like if I do read books that have that sort of content in it and it's written well, I will still enjoy it. But it wasn't for me personally. Love the dog part, love the dogs, but yeah, I don't know, it was a bit of a slog to get through this one because of that. So at this point when I was reading the three, this was my least favorite book in the series. But number 5 took over. So we'll move on to my favorite book in the series. The fourth book is Fall With Me. It follows Jackson Riley and Lennon Hayes. Jackson Riley is a member of the team that had gotten traded into the team in book 3, I believe. He's a defenseman, gets traded around a lot between teams. He's so far in his career only been at a team like 2 years each time, I think. And, you know, takes a big hit to his ego. He's not a big fan of the fact that he's been traded so many times and lost so many people that he thought were his friends in the other teams. They sort of, once he got traded, never really heard from them again. And Lennon Hayes is the social media admin of the Vancouver Vipers social media. The book starts off with Lennon on her honeymoon without her husband because he was cheating on her during their rehearsal dinner. So she went to the honeymoon by herself, meets a guy, has a one-night stand, gets a new job, and then lo and behold discovers that the guy that she had a one-night stand with on her honeymoon was actually defenseman Jackson Riley from the Vancouver Vipers. They are so fun. It's sort of silly goofy but done well. I really like the characters. There's something that happens in the book which means that Lennon's apartment is literally uninhabitable and she has nowhere to go, so she goes to sleep in her car in the middle of winter in Vancouver, and Jackson discovers this and says, no, come stay with me. And then she pretty much moves in with him and they were roommates. And it is fantastic. He has a pet cat, and the cat stole the show for me. I love the cat. I know it's a book, but the stuff that she posts on like the Vancouver Vipers social media, like just wouldn't fly in real life in my opinion. Like she doesn't have boundaries and she needs to discover some, but I did really enjoy it. The last book in the series was Breathe With Me. I DNF'd it. I think I got like halfway through roughly. The book follows Cara Hunter and Emmett Brody. They got married in like book 2 or maybe even the end of book 1, and this is sort of showing the story of how they met, but also at the same time like flashing forward to their current infertility struggles. And I think reading about the infertility struggles is like such a heavy book compared to the rest of the series. Like the rest of the series was silly goofy fun, and this one is really not silly goofy fun. And I'm not saying, like, I think it's written well. I just personally I don't have a lot of time to read sometimes, and that makes me a little bit pickier with the type of things I am reading, and I just didn't feel like reading it. It was just sad, you know? There's a big trigger warning at the beginning of the book that if you are someone that would maybe be upset by the intricacies of going down the fertility journeys, like I said, I DNF'd it, and it's purely because of the childhood aspect, like having children aspect of the book. I kind of am not interested in reading about it, and I didn't know that was where the story was going. Otherwise I probably maybe wouldn't have read the series at all. That being said, this one was written well, but I think it had to be written well because of the seriousness of the topic. But I have DNF'd it. Maybe I'll come back and finish it, maybe I won't. I kind of flicked through the end, like when I was DNFing it, and it does seem like there are some like key important things that happen to other characters in the series, but I also don't think I mind missing it. So I DNF'd it. And I feel really bad that I have DNF'd it. Like, this is a sprayed edge signed copy, and I've DNF'd it. Those were my January books. So I did quite a bit of reading in January. Considering that was within 2 weeks, I think, the last 2 weeks of January. Didn't really read a lot in the first 2 weeks of January. And now we've come into February, and this is where I sort of fell off. I genuinely thought I'd read more books, but I think I'd planned to and then didn't get around to it. The physical book that I read was The Graham Effect by Elle Kennedy. Now, if you want a more accurate hockey romance book, Elle Kennedy is your girl. I love Elle Kennedy. She does write things a little bit differently to how things go in real life, just to fit things in the timeline of a book. She says so in her acknowledgements that I think timeline-wise, when it comes to worlds and all of those things, she makes adjustments to make it work. But in saying that, accurate hockey, Elle Kennedy. Like, that's where it's always been. Elle Kennedy, author of the Off-Campus series. Now, if you watched my last video, you know I just found out about this, and I was not disappointed. I read this a few weeks ago. It follows Gigi Graham, Garrett Graham's daughter. Gigi is a hockey player on the Briar U women's hockey team, and it is fantastic. She is like, I want to be Gigi. I want to be Gigi Graham. And then the Olympics came around after reading this, and then I was watching like the women's hockey games, and I was just like, we love Gigi. The story sort of follows her. She really wants to make it onto the USA team because her goal is to make it to the Olympics. And she was told at the beginning of the book that she's an incredible player, but one thing she's missing is that she freaks out a little bit behind the net. The male main character, the love interest. The love interest is Luke Ryder, who she initially meets at like 15, 16 years old because he's at a hockey camp that her dad is running, and he thinks she's a figure skater, and she decides that she doesn't like him because how dare he think that she's a figure skater and taking up the hockey ice when she's there to run the hockey camp with her dad because she is a hockey player. Anyway, he ends up at Briar U after the rival college shuts down and they absorb the hockey team, and he has a goal to make it onto this summer camp team that is led by Garrett Graham. And so he says that he'll work with Gigi to help her out if she helps him out because he kind of made a bad impression. He's just really good at making bad impressions. He's, you know, not very smooth with it. He's there for hockey, basically. He don't care about nothing else. He's just there for the hockey, and he makes terrible impressions. He's not good at the talking and the smooching and the connections of it all. Oh, he also ruined his reputation at Worlds because he beat up his teammate in the locker room. But basically everyone's like, that Ryder guy is bad news. If he beats up his own teammates, surely he's an awful, terrible human being. And then throughout the book, you see that he's kind of a really level-headed player and doesn't really get into fights on the ice or off the ice, and just does his thing, you know? Incredible hockey player, helps Gigi. I had a really fun time reading this. I think I read it in like 6 hours. Like I sat on the couch, started and finished it. Maybe even less than 6 hours. Like I ate this shit up. If I had the sequels, I probably would have read those already, but I haven't been to the bookshop in a long time, and I don't think the bookshop had the physical copies when I was there, so I would have had to order them in, and I've just been lazy and spending a lot of money and trying to save my money a little bit. I've spent way too much money in February. I really took, like, it's my birthday month, I'm gonna treat myself too seriously. That's okay. That's what happens. I will be reading the rest of the series. Now my plan was to reread the off-campus series and the Briar extended series before March, so I could read them all again before I read Love Song. But honestly, it all kind of came back to me when I was reading The Graham Effect, so I might just continue with the series. What I am going to miss out on though is, I'm assuming, the next one I think is called The Dixon Rule, and I haven't looked at the synopsis, but if it follows who I think it's following, hence the name Dixon, she's not a hockey player, and I kind of really loved being at the point of view of women's hockey. The Graham Effect for Gigi didn't have enough time to get to Worlds and all of that, and things didn't work out how I wanted them to, but I'm hoping she pulls through and like gets her goals and makes it to the Olympics. Love Song does come out in like a couple weeks, so I'm gonna probably get around to reading that hopefully when it comes out. But I also planned on reading And Now Back to You by BK Borison when it came out this month, and that didn't happen. Again, I wanted to get to the bookstore, didn't get to the bookstore, and spent too much money and tried to save money. So and now the 2 audiobooks that I listened to, which I have had so much fun listening to these audiobooks, let me tell you. So I started listening to Dungeon Crawler Carl by Mark Dinniman. I've listened to the first one and the second one. The first one is Dungeon Crawler Carl, second one is Carl's Doomsday Scenario. I am obsessed with these books, like genuinely obsessed. They are done so well. There's one narrator, but he does such an incredible job at doing all the voices that when you're listening to it, you kind of forget that you're not in a full casted audiobook. It's just the most unique story that I've come across in a book, and it's right up my alley, honestly. Like, it basically follows Carl and his cat, Princess Donut, who end up in a Dungeons and Dragons like scenario due to aliens taking over the world. So what I mean by Dungeons and Dragons scenario is there's levels. It just genuinely feels like I'm reading a video game. So he has to level up, get his skills up. It's just like an RPG, and I don't even know how to describe it, but it's so fascinating. Princess Donut is his ex-girlfriend's Persian cat, and basically anyone that was inside when the world ended died, and everyone that was outside survived and had to go into the dungeon to sort of fight their way through the levels. So Carl just so happens to be outside with Princess Donut when the world ends. Basically, stuff happens, he ends up in the dungeon, he ends up in the training guild, and then Princess Donut becomes a sentient character, and I love her. She becomes a talking cat, and she has next level amount of charisma. When she was just a cat in the human world, she was a show cat. She was best in show. She's got all the ribbons. She's fantastic, you know. She knew exactly how to work the people and the cameras, you know. And she is taking that skill to the dungeon because it's actually a televised situation to the galaxy. So yeah. It's genuinely crazy. I don't want to read it for the longest time because I don't really usually like reading books written by men, but I am highly, highly enjoying this. I recommend it. My #1 audiobook of all time was Project Hail Mary, and this I think is going above that. I think is definitely higher on the list. I will continue. So if you're wanting a good audiobook, Dungeon Crawler Carl, highly recommend. I'm through the first two. I will be continuing, but I might read a couple other books in between before I go on to the third one. I think that's it for all the books that I've read in January and February. Honestly, like I said, not a lot of reading for February. It's been a busy time. I do have books that I picked up to read and I haven't actually started it because again, I started to do work. I've been working really hard on a few different things. The Liz Tom 40 series, the Windy City series, but I'm really excited to read the first one. It's called Mile High. I think that one's the hockey romance of the series and then it goes on to like baseball romance. I don't know, but I will get back to you to see if it's accurate hockey romance. I love a good game of hockey. I love watching hockey. Hockey romances, again, not so accurate, but we don't really want them to be accurate. I don't think hockey men in real life are the same as hockey men in the books, but you know, we can only dream, really. So basically, out of all the books that I've read in January and February, I probably wouldn't recommend the Becka Mack series, the Playing for Keeps series. If you really, really want to read a hockey romance series and you don't care that it's kind of shitty, give it a go. The fourth book, honestly, incredible. I loved that. But if you want an actual good hockey romance series, anything by Elle Kennedy, I highly recommend. And I will get back to you on the Windy City series. Even though it's not hockey romance the whole time, there's like a few different sports. It's just like a sports romance series, really. I can't believe February is already over and we're into March. May we read a lot more in March. I will probably have a little bit more of a regular posting schedule in March. I will update you on my March reading at the end of the month. If I don't do a lot of reading, I might do what I did this time and do a joint March-April, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Let me know if you've read any of these books, what your thoughts were. If you have any recommendations for books for me to read coming up in the year, or if I need to take stuff off my TBR. Yeah, I don't know. I sort of lost my thought process. Thank you for listening to me yap about books. Please like and subscribe, and again, let me know your thoughts. Let me know how you feel. Bye bye. The obligatory Harvey hello and goodbye as well.